the most important task before every government is to ensure that you have very efficient machinery. Probably the government might have thought that there is a need to change ministers. The Narendra Modi government has inducted a large number of new members as ministers. These are Narayan Rani, Sarbanand Sonowal, Port and Shipping and Ayush Ministry, Virendra Kumar, Jyotiraditya Scindia, Civil Aviation Minister, Ramchandra Prasad Singh, Steel Minister, Ashwini Vaishnav, Railways Minister, Pashupati Kumar Paras, Minister of Food Processing Industry, Kiran Rijiju, Law and Justice Ministry, Dharmendra Pradhan, Education Minister, Raj Kumar Singh, Power and Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, Hardeep Singh Puri, Petroleum, Housing and Urban Development, Mansukh Mandavia, Chemicals, Fertilizers and Health Ministry, Bhupender Yadav, Parshottam Rupala, G. Krishnan Reddy, Anurag Thakur, Information, Broadcasting and Sports Ministry. Now these are Minister of State: Pankaj Chaudhary, Anupriya Singh Patel, Satyapal Singh Baghel, Rajiv Chandrasekhar, Shobha Karandaجلی, Bhanu Pratap Singh Verma, Darshan Vikram Jardosh, Meenakshi Lekhi, Annapurna Devi, A. Narayan Swamy, Kaushal Kishore, Ajay Bhatt, B.L. Verma, Ajay Kumar, Chauhan Devu Singh, Bhagwant Khubba, Kapil Moreshwar Patil, Pratima Bhaumik, Subhash Sarkar, Bhagwat Krishna Rao Karad, Rajkumar Ranjan Singh, Bharati Praveen Pawar, Vishweshwar Tudu, Shantanu Thakur, Dr. Munjapara Mahendra Bhai, John Barla, Dr. L. Murugan, Nishit Pramanik. So it's a big reshuffle. Now why reshuffle is there? Probably you have to understand that the most important task before Prime Minister is also to deliver. And the organs of government, the most important organ is legislature. Of course, the organs of government are three: executive, legislature, judiciary. Executive means IAS officers and all those officers. Nothing much can be done about them. They are already appointed. They are having permanent job. Nothing can be done about them. They will work as they wish. At the most, you can try to conduct a training and development program and reorient them and introduce some kind of incentive system so that those who are doing outstanding are differentiated rather than treating everybody equally. Legislature means the members of parliament and members of legislative assembly. And then judiciary means the court, Supreme Court, High Courts. The Indian Constitution has provided three organs of government. The executive, they have the most important role of implementing the laws. The legislature, they have the most important task of formulating the laws. And judiciary, they have the important role of interpreting and interpreting the law and taking decisions in case of disputes. The executive takes decisions, sees that it is implemented well. Executive is the organ of the government that looks after the implementation and administration of the government. There are two types of executives: political executive, permanent executive. Political executives who change after every election. Permanent executives include civil servants, bureaucrats, IAS officers. So among political executive, the most important executives are those people who are going to look after, of course, they are only for 5 years. Political executives includes head of the government like prime ministers, chief ministers, other ministers. They have an important responsibility of day-to-day administration also. Head of the states are like President of India. They don't have any responsibility. They are nominal powers. They are like in Great Britain, Japan, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Belgium, and Holland. In India also, the president has nominal powers. But in US, the president has been given many powers. He exercises these powers. Real executive. President of India has been given many powers in Constitution. In actual practice, these powers are all exercised by prime ministers and his cabinet. Singular and plural types of executive. Single executive means all executive powers are vested in one head of the state. For example, in United States, all the powers are vested in the President of America. And plural in Switzerland, the executive powers is not in the hand of one individual, but it is in the hands of council of 7 members. And therefore, it is called plural executive. And presidential versus parliamentary type of executive. In America, we have a presidential type of executive. In India, we have parliamentary executive. In parliamentary executive, the cabinet is responsible to the legislature. This is the case in India, England, France, Japan, Sri Lanka, West Germany, Italy, Sweden, Denmark, Norway, Belgium, Holland. Now here, cabinet is responsible to the legislature. Here the president is the nominal head of the state. He has, but in some countries, the president is having complete powers. That is called presidential type of executive. Examples are United States, Brazil, and some other countries of South America. The president is elected for a fixed term in these countries and can be removed through impeachment only. Who are the important executives in India? The most important executive is the president, who is nominal head. He is not responsible for anything, but he is the head of the country. The real responsibility to execute day-to-day work is upon the Prime Minister and Council of Ministers. So at national level, it's the Prime Minister and his cabinet, and at the state level, it is the Chief Minister and his cabinet. Constitution has formally given the executive powers of the Union to the President of India, but on behalf of President of India, all decisions are taken by Prime Minister and his Council of Ministers. So Prime Minister and Council of Ministers are the real executives. They are elected by people and are responsible and accountable to them. The President of India is the constitutional head. He is considered the first citizen of India. The executive powers are vested in the president, but he exercises it through Prime Minister. He doesn't take any decision. It is the Prime Minister who takes the decision on behalf of the president. So you can say the post of president is ceremonial head of the country. The executive power is exercised by the President only on the advice of Council of Ministers. The President of India is elected by indirect election. In America, the President is elected by direct election, but in India, the President of India is elected by indirect election. The President of India is not directly elected by the common people, but he is elected by the representatives of the people. The President of India is elected by the system of proportional representation, in which the representatives like MPs, MLAs, they give their preference to the candidate and select the candidate. The voting system here is called single transferable vote. Candidate is required to give a quota of votes. The president is elected by electoral college. Electoral members of Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, legislative assemblies of the states constitute the electoral college for the election of the president. List of the presidents. Dr. Rajendra Prasad was the president from 1950 to 1962. He was the president to serve 2 terms in his office. Thereafter, we had great philosopher Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan from 1962 to 1967. Radhakrishnan was a prominent philosopher and writer and also held the position of Vice Chancellor of Andhra University and Banaras Hindu University. He received Bharat Ratna Award in 1954 before becoming the president. Then we had Zakir Hussain, 1967 to 1969. He was also earlier Vice Chancellor of Aligarh Muslim University and recipient of Padma Vibhushan and Bharat Ratna. He died in office. Then V.V. Giri was from 1969 to 1974. Mr. V.V. Giri was appointed as acting president of India following the death of the Zakir Hussain. He resigned in a few months to take part in the presidential elections. Then Fakhruddin Ali Ahmad. He was the president from 1974 to 1977. He served as a minister before being elected as president. He died in 1977 before his term of office ended. He was the second Indian president to die in office. Then we had Neelam Sanjeev Reddy from 1977 to 1982. Neelam Sanjeev Reddy was the first Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh. He was unanimously elected Speaker of the Lok Sabha on 26 March 1977. But he relinquished this office on 13th July 1977 to become the 6th President of India. Then we had Gyani Jail Singh from 1982 to 1987. In 1972, Gyani Jail Singh assumed the position of Chief Minister of Punjab, and in 1980, he became the Union Home Minister. Thereafter, he was elevated to the post of President of India from 1982 to 1987. Then we had Ramaswamy Venkatraman from 1987 to 1992. He joined the central government where he first served as Minister of Finance and Industry and later on as Minister of Defense, and then joined as President of India and served from 1987 to 1992. Then we had Shankar Dayal Sharma from 1992 to 1997. He was earlier the Chief Minister of Madhya Pradesh and then Minister for Communication. He has also served as the Governor of Andhra Pradesh, Punjab, and Maharashtra. Then we had K.R. Narayanan from 1997 to 2002. Narayanan served as India's ambassador to Thailand, Turkey, China, United States of America. He received doctorates in science and law and was also the chancellor in several universities. He was also the vice chancellor of Jawaharlal Nehru University. He was the first president from Kerala and also the first Dalit president. Then APJ Abdul Kalam was president from 2002 to 2007. He was a scientist who played a leading role in the development of India's ballistic missiles and nuclear weapons program. He received Bharat Ratna. Kalam was affectionately known as the People's President due to his extra presidential activities. He died following a heart attack while delivering a speech in Shillong. Mrs. Pratibha Patil from 2007 to 2012. She was the first woman to become the President of India. She was also the first female governor of Rajasthan. Pranab Mukherjee, 2012 to 2017. Pranab Mukherjee held various posts in the cabinet ministry for the government of India, such as Finance Minister, Foreign Minister, Defense Minister, Deputy Chairman of Planning Commission. So he was the 13th President. Mr. Ram Nath Kovind, he became President in 2017. He is still the President. He is the 14th President of India. He has been in this office since 25th July 2017. He has also served as the Governor of Bihar from 2015 to 2017. Vice President. Vice President is elected for 5 years. His election is same as that of President. Only difference between his election is that of President's election is that state legislators are not included in election of Vice President. That means Vice President is also elected indirectly, but he is selected by MPs, Member of Parliaments. Vice President is removed from his office by resolution of Rajya Sabha passed by majority and accepted by Lok Sabha. Vice President acts as ex officio chairman of Rajya Sabha and takes over as President when there is a vacancy by reason of death, resignation, removal by impeachment or otherwise. The Vice President acts as the President only until a new President is elected. B.D. Jatti was the Vice President who acted as President upon death of Fakhruddin Ali Ahmad until new President was elected. Prime Minister. Prime Minister is the head of the government, while President is the head of the state. Prime Minister is real executive authority. Prime Minister is appointed by the President. Ministers are appointed by the President in accordance with the advice given by the Prime Minister. Council of Ministers hold the office during the pleasure of the Prime Minister. Prime Minister and Council of Ministers are responsible to the Lok Sabha and to the President. The provision is that there will be a Prime Minister and a Council of Ministers to aid and assist the President of India. The President will administer the oath of secrecy to the ministers. The total number of ministers, including the Prime Minister, shall not exceed 15% of total strength in Lok Sabha. Salaries and allowances of all ministers shall be determined by the Parliament. Prime Minister is directly elected by, Prime Minister is actually, the party is elected by the people. For example, people give vote to Narendra Modi, so they voted for BJP. So in a way, you can say Prime Minister is elected by the people. The person gets elected as member of the Lok Sabha. Rajya Sabha member can also become Prime Minister. The leader of, with the majority of votes in Lok Sabha is appointed as the Prime Minister. The President administers the oath to the Prime Minister after his appointment by the President. Prime Minister is the head of the Council of Ministers. He is responsible for coordination among the ministers. He can allocate, reshuffle portfolios among the ministers. He is the leader of the Lok Sabha. He can recommend the dissolution of Lok Sabha at any time. He advises President regarding summoning and prolonging the session of Parliament. Prime Minister is the chairperson of Niti Aayog. His resignation is considered as resignation of entire Council of Ministers. He acts a link between the President and Council of Ministers. He advises President regarding appointment of officials like Attorney General, CAG, Auditor General, members of UPSC. In fact, he gives the advice and President has to sign upon it. That means the decision maker is always the Prime Minister. Prime Minister is the political head of the state.